What if I told you the earliest Christians didn't believe Jesus was God? In the first century, no one was asking how God could die on a cross. That question wouldn't have even made sense. The shock was that God's chosen Messiah, the one they believed would save Israel, had been executed in shame by Rome. In Jewish culture of the time, the Messiah wasn't expected to be divine. Messiah, or Mashiach in Hebrew, meant anointed one, a human chosen by God to accomplish a mission, to gather Israel's exiles, restore the kingdom, bring justice, and establish peace. Some Jews expected a warrior king like David, others a prophetic leader, but no one expected God himself to appear in human form. This is why Jesus' crucifixion was devastating. Deuteronomy 21:23 said anyone hung on a tree was cursed by God. How could God's chosen one suffer the most humiliating death Rome could inflict? To Jesus' followers, this was not just a tragedy, it was a contradiction to their entire understanding of the Messiah. The earliest gospel, Mark, reflects this worldview. In Mark 10:17-18, when a man calls Jesus good teacher, Jesus replies, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone." If Jesus wanted to claim divinity, this would have been the moment. Instead, he deflects glory back to God. Mark portrays Jesus as God's obedient servant and teacher, deeply reliant on prayer, empowered by God, but never claiming to be God himself. Matthew and Luke share this same picture. They call Jesus Messiah, prophet, Son of Man, Son of God, titles that in Jewish culture described kings or chosen leaders, not deity. Son of God was used for Israel's kings, like David, as a sign of God's favor and calling, not divinity. Acts, the earliest record of Christian preaching, shows this clearly. In Peter's sermon in Acts 2, he declares, "God has made this Jesus, whom you crucified, both Lord and Messiah." Notice Peter says God made him Lord and Messiah. He does not proclaim Jesus as God. The emphasis is entirely on God raising Jesus from the dead to validate him as the Messiah. Paul's letters, written even earlier than the Gospels, echo this view. Paul calls Jesus Lord and Messiah, but the emphasis is always on God's power. God raised him, God exalted him, God gave him the name above every name. The earliest Christian confession, as Paul states in Romans 10:9, was, "Jesus is Lord," which meant God's chosen ruler, not God himself. For the earliest followers, Jesus was the anointed Messiah, a man chosen by God, empowered by God, and vindicated by God through resurrection. He was not worshipped as God, and no one was preaching that God had died on a cross. They were trying to make sense of a crucified Messiah, something shocking and deeply offensive to Jewish expectations.